they were different between the US and like accommodating they are to pregnant. Having that kind of service is not normal.
In Russia, it's unbelievable. I think it's very good.
One is probably the cost, but if you want to be completely honest, that you can't raise a child for that kind of money. I want our kids to be kids.
안녕하세요. 한국치안자 루리 엄마 일본에서 온 모모입니다. 저는 한국 사람이랑 결혼했어요. 지금 아이 키운 지 4년 됐습니다.
안녕하세요. 저는 에일리 아빠 토마스 모로스입니다. 저는 헝가리 사람입니다. We've got two children, one 11 years old and my daughter will turn 6 years old. My wife is Korean.
안녕하세요. 저는 한국입니다. I'm from Russia and my husband from Russia too. We have 3 kids. My first son was born in Russia and other kids were born in Korea.
안녕하세요. 저는 조슈아예요. 케이슬리 아빠. She was born in 2018. Kaisley was born in Korea and my wife's here in Korea as well.
저는 한국에 있었습니다. 한국에서 임신 중도 한국이고 아기 낳을 때도 한국이었어요.
Yeah, when my wife was pregnant with our first child and we lived in Mongolia, but she delivered in Korea and after delivery then they came back to Mongolia.
My first son was born in Russia and other kids I was born and delivered in Korea with other kids.
저는 2020년 2월에 나가지고 그때가 코로나가 터질 때였어요. 그래서 일본에서 낳고 싶은 생각도 있었고 아기 낳으면 바로 일본에 갈 생각도 있었는데 그때는 못 가가지고 한국에서 낳고 한국에서 조리원도 안 가고 그냥 집에서 쉬었습니다.
My wife got pregnant. She went to Joriwon afterwards, which is the postpartum care center. And we started, this was all part of the plan. We started prepping for Kaisley's birth before my wife was pregnant. So it's kind of like we were already like slowly gathering stuff from the US and other places, which I was grateful for because it wasn't only that they take care of the mothering child, they also had a lot of classes to teach about how to do things that are associated with child rearing and taking care of newborns, which I think that was very helpful as well.
Yeah, I agree. With my first child, my wife came back to Korea about I think a month before the planned delivery or the expected delivery date, and then after delivery she also moved into this postpartum center for about 2 weeks. It was great because they could teach her how to bath the child, how to properly, do all sort of exactly. And additionally, I think the icing on the cake was that I could also stay in the room with her. This is not something that we've got in Hungary, but I think it was really good. She was well looked after, she could recover. But with our second child, when she was born, it was just basically delivery and going back home. So she did not have that kind of care because she also had to sort of look after our firstborn. So
I want to say that I have 2 things that surprised me in Korea. First, it's that my husband was with me during delivery, and I think he was the main person because everybody asked me, where's your husband? He should sign some documents or something like this. In Russia, it's unbelievable. And the second, that everybody came to me in these usual clothes, and it's okay because in Russia nobody can come to you when you are in hospital with your baby, and even husband. It was a shock for me, but it's good. It's very good because it was a very special time when my husband and me with my baby was in hospital.
낳기 전에 많이 다른 건 많지는 않았는데 보건소에서 그 염산인가? 그 사플리멘 주시고 원자로 주시고 그리고 돈을 카드에 넣어서 임신 중에 쓰라고 병원에서 쓸 수 있거나 뭔가 살 수 있는 거? 그 카드를 주시고 그거를 임신 중에 검사할 때마다 쓸 수 있게 하는 거는 놀랐고 그리고 임신 전에도 후에도 미역국을 시어머니 미론 냄비에다가 끓여주셔가지고 한 번씩 이렇게 많이 먹으라고 챙겨주셨어요. 그 맘카페? 저도 안 해봤는데 맘카페에서 정보를 다 받아가지고 거기서 리뷰 보고 사고 그런 거는 저도 놀랐어요.
I think getting prepare for the child's birth. In every country, it really depends on the mother, but I think there's not much difference. You still need to start preparing for the clothes, some toys, and if you want a stroller or maybe some baby carriers and stuff like that. Other than that, I think it's pretty much the same.
They were different between the US and in Korea was how accommodating they are to pregnant women. So, for example, the campaign that started with the subway or buses, they get a special pass to sit somewhere, or when they're pregnant, you also can park in different places which are closer. A few comforting perks that I think are good for pregnant women. But it's hard for me to, it's hard for me to speak from, a direct perspective, because other than that, I'm not really handling the mom's cafes and different kinds of things. But I know my wife did maybe use mom's cafes and things as a way to find information and find out which is best where and to share information. I know that's really big in Korea.
Different status of pregnant because here I haven't passed so many blood tests like in Russia. It was, and you have not come very often in first month, and later I think the same once 2 weeks, and every time ultrasonic and I can see my baby. It's very good. I think it's nice, and I have pictures.
I think building on that, now that you said it, it kind of reminds me of when my wife was pregnant. I feel like everything is very scheduled with the pregnancy because it's like every certain time they know exactly when to come to take pictures of this and to check this and to get this done and to do this, and so you're never second guessing when do I need to schedule this kind of thing or do this kind of thing, because the hospital kind of handles it all the way. And one thing that I really liked about the ultrasound, now that you mentioned it, was in Korea they had, I don't know if you got it done, where you get the 3D, and then it's also they add color and stuff, and so you get a more of a feeling of this little baby.
It's pretty.
It's there. It's pretty neat.
앞으로 나오는 거랑 옆으로 나오는 거랑 그것에 따라 남자인지 여자인지 알 수 있다고 얘기를 하시고 제 패를 보고 이거는 여자다 했었던 것 같아요. 근데 진짜 여자였어요.
I recall one, my wife was telling me that when she was pregnant with our second child, with daughter, then she was dreaming of, I think, some jewelry or something like that. And,
right, that's true.
And then,
yes, I remember that.
And she was quite shy during the ultrasound examinations, so she didn't show. And the doctor, we lived in China at that time, and we went this regular checkup, and in China, doctors are not allowed to tell you if it's a boy or a girl. But of course, you need to ask that. Oh, okay, so it's red or pink or blue. But for very long, my daughter didn't show. So we thought, I think until 7 months or so, that she was a boy. But my wife kept saying no. She had the dream and she feels that, and eventually it turned out to be a girl. So we needed to come up with another name.
I don't drink coffee, but
Caffeine.
And no alcohol.
Pretty standard.
Exactly. Raw meat?
Raw,
yeah,
yes.
no raw meat.
I think I don't know if it's so much superstition though.
It's just
probably to deal with possible bacteria and poisoning, I guess.
I think so.
That would be my guess. Well, in the US, at least where I'm from, I think you stay a day or so at the hospital, and then you're gone. They give you the boot. No, they don't give you the boot. You move on, you go home. And then if you're lucky, you have family members who can help you. And if not, then you're at home doing it by yourself. In Korea, I was very surprised to hear about the postpartum care system, the 조리원, as you have it. And I think it was great. In the US, having that kind of service is not normal. People who aren't very wealthy or something like that, but I feel like here it's made a service that is kind of affordable and available to most people, which is really good. And as I mentioned before, the fact that you can learn so much, as you said, learn how to bathe the child or swaddle them, or maybe how to relax them to put them back to sleep, or all these kinds of things I think are very helpful to new moms, especially if it's your first child, because there's so much And obviously less anxiety for me, but for the mom, I can't imagine how much anxiety that you two and my wife and your wife went through as first-time moms trying to figure out what's wrong, what to do, how to handle something. And so I think the Jori one kind of can help put them at ease and make it a little more simple on them. And not to mention, like you said, we can stay there. Not that I ever did, but there's the possibility to stay there. But I did like that I always had access to come and see my child at any time, and I think that's really nice. And they even had classes for dads and moms together to do little classes and learn little baby hand massages or different kinds of little things. So that's pretty neat.
No, I think it's generally speaking, as he also mentioned, it's not common. I don't think you've got also in Russia. So it's just, if there are no complications, you're strong enough, you deliver, and then you basically will be discharged. You can go back home. Any health issues come up later on, then you can call the ER, or you can just go back to the hospital for another checkup or so. But yeah, it's not common. Even I think not the wealthier people either. It's just culturally not
common.
Not common.
The same situation in Russia. We don't have this, and I think it's very, very good. And I have a job, and I was pregnant with my first son. I think only in the countries from USSR we have 3 years. A woman can stay at home for 3 years. The government pay 1 year and 6 months, your 50% of your payment before. After 1 year and 6 months, she can just stay at home or come back for her job. It's good, but if you don't have enough money, it doesn't work.
I think in the US, at least where I'm from, a lot of kids get dropped off by their parents by car. Their parents drop them off. Sometimes their parents pick them up. If not, they take the school bus. The school bus picks them up at a stop and then takes them to school and then brings them back home to the same stop. Not that it's illegal. I think the school, from one point to one point, the school is responsible. So I think the school tries to keep the children to know their whereabouts during certain times, or when they're supposed to know where the students are. There are some rules regarding missing school, but as far as how they got to school, not where I'm from, not that I am aware of.
In Russia, usually on foot or by bus, public bus, we don't have school buses. And when I was school, it was normal. Now I know that first grade and maybe second grade only with parents.
I think in Hungary it was quite normal when I was going to school by bus or on foot or by bicycle or inline skate or whatever mode of transportation you could get to school. But recently more and more parents drop off the kids by car. So again, these children getting a bit more comfortable. Right? And school buses are not common in Hungary either.
일본은 초등학교까지는 엄마 자전거 타는 경우가 많고 혼자 가면 안 돼요, 당연히. 엄마가 초등학교에서 1에서 들었는데 1학년은 엄마가 무조건 같이 등원시켜야 된다, 그런 거 있는 학교도 있고. 근데 처음에는 그룹을 만들어요, 그 학교에서. 근처에 사는 애들 그룹을 만들고 여기에 몇 시에 모이자 이렇게 해서 모으고 6학년 애들 앞에 서서 같이 학교까지 가는 거가 많은 것 같아요. 근데 중학교쯤 되면 자전거 타는 애들도 있고, 그 지하철 같은 거, 지하철 버스 타고 가는 애들도 있고, 엄마 아빠 차 타고 가는 경우에는 학교는 없었는데 시골에는 좀 있을 거예요. 근데 시골에도 버스 같은 걸 쓰는 경우가 많아요. 한국에서 키울 수 있어서 좋은 점은, 저는 첫 번째 생각에 나는 거는 어린이집이 들어가기 쉬웠던 거. 일본은 어린이집은 일하는 엄마만 보낼 수 있는데, 그래서 서류도 엄청 많고 몇 시부터 일하고 그런 조건도 많고 하는데, 한국 어린이집 들어가기 쉽고, 그리고 앱으로 다 신청 가능한 거? 그게 되게
Good for very safety to go to school there and stay at school, studying, have extra classes because they have buses, not only school buses and Hangwon buses. It's good. I can just stay at home and wait and sometimes call.
I think safety is a big point, probably for all of us. And other than safety, I think the option of education, the educational options are endless. What I mean is, I don't know if it's such a good idea to always send your kid to as many places as you can, physically stick them all the time until 1 in the morning or something. But I think I do appreciate that there are so many options that, you know, whether it's you want to put them in more math, or you want to put them in more art, or you want to put them into sports classes, or you want to put them into something else. I think I really appreciate having so many different options that you can build on their interests, also help them become little people that you want them to kind of develop to be. So help build them along. So I think that's really good. Well, I think I do appreciate that my wife grew up in this education system where it was so busy, and so so she got, you can see all this perseverance and grit that goes into going through this kind of education system, being raised where kids even nowadays, they go to school and then they go to classes and then they finish classes and they just keep grinding it out. And I appreciate that my wife has kept this. It's like she hasn't let herself get lazy at anything. It's like she takes the kid out whether she feels like doing it or not, and she lets the kid experience the world, and she keeps, lets her learn new things and tries to push her to try more.
Yeah, my wife is Korean too, and I think education is sort of sacred to Koreans. It's very, very important. If you can just look at if you graduated from XYZ university, then you've arrived. So it's extremely important, and she's also that kind of person who reads a lot. She wants to learn a lot if she has time, and she sort of tries to influence our children and manage her time and the kids' time the way that as much as they can learn as well, but not pushing over the edge like many Korean families tend to do that. I told my wife that I want our kids to be kids, and I want them to remember the fun part of being kids, not only just, oh, I remember I went to this hagwon, and then no fun whatsoever, because sometimes parents tend to measure success in how many hagwons your children can go compared to your neighbor or your friend, and is a sort of a competition. And I think that's probably, maybe that's our advantage being in a mixed race family. Maybe that's sort of competition is not so expected from only Korean families, and our kids can have a break.
Yeah, I think he's right, because we have a problem when nobody played in playground. And then next year she go to school, and she has 2 friends. They was older for 1 year, and they play together playground, but then they go to school. They don't have time to play. And it was, wow. Because they have many hagwon. It's a pity. It's so busy casual for your kid. It was strange. Yeah.
No, I agree. The kids be kids.
요즘은 한국에서도 그렇고 다른 나라도 그렇겠지만 여자도 일 열심히 하는 분들이 너무 지금은 많잖아요. 그리고 옛날에는 남자가 일해야 되고 여자는 집안일 하고 아기를 봐야 된다, 그 생각이 강했는데 요즘은 여자가 밖에 나가서 일하는 것도 당연한 거라서, 그래서 여자도 캐리어를 어느 정도는 생각하고 싶으면 늦게 낳거나 아예 결혼을 안 하거나 아기를 낳지 않거나 그런 선택도 많아진 것 같아서, 그래서 아기를 안 낳는 사람도 많아지지 않았을까 해요.
I think at the end of the day it comes down to probably 2-3 main things. One is probably the cost. Living cost, and especially housing, has gotten very expensive. Most young families prefer living in Seoul, would be preferring living in Seoul or near Seoul. And even though the government sort of tried to hand out some money, but if you want to be completely honest, that you can't raise a child for that kind of money. Even if I just think about that, we've got 2 children. I think after the second child started going to the kindergarten, or the government stopped paying some child sort of support. In Hungary, on the other hand, I think the government pays until they turn 14 or 16 or something like that. Not a huge amount of money, but still. And I think some other European countries also pay some more child support for more years. And another reason probably is that in Korea, has gotten also a wealthy country. Generally speaking, people maybe realize that, oh, okay, if I can't really afford that kind of big house or living in Seoul, but I have some additional money to spend, then maybe I better spend it on myself or on my wife, and then we can have a little dog. And it's a lot cheaper. Rather go and play golf, going on trips, overseas. I also noticed, and maybe I'm wrong, that many of the younger generations prefer also staying home with their parents as long as they can. And they probably maybe just got used to this kind of comfortable lifestyle, and getting a child into their family would maybe destroy that kind of comfort that they have gotten used to. But yeah, I mean, that's my opinion. Maybe you guys have some other observations or...
The only other thing I could add to that is maybe this idea of what we consider happiness, or how we kind of build our lives or our lifestyle. And like the low birth rate is not only because people aren't married, people are just not meeting as much in a way that is for them to like geared towards getting married. Maybe our culture, younger society, we're more open to different kinds of relationships, and so it doesn't put the pressure on us to, or on younger generations to like we have to get married and like this is what we need to follow. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, I think Korea is changing so fast. That maybe that's why they have this problem. Yeah, women has now more free, and they doesn't want to come back home and stay like it was 50 years ago.
Like lockdown. Yeah, they can.
오늘은 한국에 육아하는 외국인 엄마 아빠 얘기를 들어봤는데요. 오늘 영상 재밌었다면
구독과
좋아요.
눌러주세요.
안녕.
안녕.